border, we've got a true humanitarian crisis underway with children caught in the middle. Unfortunately, it's a crisis of the president's own making. His actions gave false hope to children and their families. If they enter the country illegally, they would be allowed to stay. Our priorities are clear. Take care of these children, return them safely home to their home countries, to their families, and secure the border.
The facts are simple. America is being challenged with an immigration crisis of exceptional proportions. The American public is by and large fed up with the lack of any substantive action. Immigration reform is at different times of the day something that must happen or something that can't even be considered for the time being, and someone has to blink first. Welcome to MidPoint. From the left, political consultant Jessica Tarlov, and from the right, strategist and founder of the Keelen Group, Matt Keelen. Matt, Jessica, thank you so much for being here today.
Thanks, Ed.
Thanks for having us.
All right, ladies first always. Jessica, I'm going to give it to you. Somebody's got to blink first here, and the Republicans are saying the president simply won't blink, won't back down. He's the one that needs to do something right out of the box to first and foremost settle the immigration crisis where it is right now. Answer up, please.
Well, I think actually the president has been doing a lot more than the Republicans are giving him credit for. He's having a conversation about the 2008 law. He's has the Hispanic caucus upset with him. He's dedicated to fixing this. He's been for comprehensive immigration reform since he got into office, and the Republicans are the one fighting him tooth and nail at every turn. I think that holding this $3.7 billion package hostage is irresponsible of the Republicans, and we're very close to summer recess, and they seem totally fine about just pushing it back another 5 weeks, and it can't wait. It's an enormous humanitarian crisis, as you said, and it's the job of everyone in Washington to start agreeing about something or just find at least some common ground where we can get somewhere.
All right, Matt, Jessica makes a point here because we go back to the 2008 law here. There are many who will say the president's hands are...
Everyone in Washington to start agreeing about something or just find at least some common ground where we can get somewhere.
...stopped at certain times before they cross the border. So is it not fair to say then that maybe he can't do anything at this time until that gets taken care of?
I think that's a fair point, Ed, but one of the things that he could do is try to stop this flow of children northward. And he had a great opportunity when he was in Texas to visit the border and make a statement and say, we're going to clamp down and make sure that this is not going to continue at the numbers that it's continuing. And unfortunately, he chose to go to a fundraiser as opposed to going down and actually seeing the crisis for himself. You know, at times, Ed, the American president has to lead. And this is one of those times where he was given an opportunity to lead and chose not to go down there, chose to do politics instead. And I think the only guy right now that's really leading on this crisis is Texas Governor Rick Perry.
Jessica, isn't it fair, though, when we talk about leadership here, that there is a point to be made? The president may call it optics, if you will, but America still wants their president to be there to show that he or she cares at times. Isn't it fair to admit, though, that the president blew it by not going to Texas and at least trying to put forth some effort here?
I'm not going to say that he blew it. Would I have liked to see him at the border? Yeah, maybe. I think that would be good. And there are a lot of Democrats who are saying that. You know, why couldn't he have gone a little bit out of his way to do it? But he also, you know, extended an olive branch to Rick Perry that got thrown back in his face. So I think that the president is, you know, dealing with 6 years of frustration of working with an obstructionist Republican Congress and has, you know, very little purview to get anything that he wants to get done. People are standing in his way. And yeah, I'm with you on the border. I would have liked to have seen him there, seeing things, whether just for optics or just to really feel the full gravity of it is an important thing. And, you know, we talk about this when disasters happen all the time. Katrina, on 9/11, we had the same conversations about where are the presidents when these things happen. And this border crisis is on the level of a natural disaster. I mean, this is a legitimate thing and he should have gone there, but that doesn't mean that we can't move forward now. When the Republicans just harp on the same point over and over again. Get over it. He didn't go to the border. He did have a fundraiser, but that doesn't mean that we can't get something done.
Matt, time to move on from that. And again, the point can be made that the president can only do so much. Isn't it fair to say that Congress, whether it's left, right, middle, whatever, that's the body that's got to get together right now, and that's the one that's got to get things done?
I think if you listen to the American people right now, they want this crisis settled. They want these children taken care of, and then they want them sent back.
That's got to get together right now, and that's the one that's got to get things done?
I think if you listen to the American people, right, 1% of the request is for actual border security. And if you read through the entire text of the bill, it certainly seems like he intends to have those children here for a very, very long time. There's very little detail on what he's going to do with $4 billion. I think what Congress is saying is, listen, you need to work with us. Yes, the president got elected and reelected, but the Congress also got elected in 2012. So sometimes you have to have compromise. Unfortunately, in Barack Obama's America, compromise means you do what I ask, or we're not going to do anything. We're not even going to have a conversation. The conversation that needs to be had right now is, what are we going to do with these children? How are we going to get them home safely? And quite frankly, how are we going to keep the American people in the towns and communities that they're in now safe?
Jessica, go ahead, because on that point as well, there are those who are saying that that's true. $3.7 billion is here, but there's a lot of it that points to these children, these individuals staying in this country for a long time. That's what has Americans unhappy right now. They're saying our towns are stretched, our taxpayer dollars are stretched. You're asking us to pay more money when our own kids aren't fed 3 squares a day, when we have our own kids who aren't housed. We have our own problems here. So why are we keeping them here? Isn't it fair to say that that is a fair criticism?
This is a really sensitive issue, obviously, and I think that all criticisms are fair. But if you look at it, I think that the problem going on right now in Washington is that people aren't separating the immigration reform issue from this crisis that's going on. And they are quite separate. The $3.7 billion is separate. And no one, I don't think on either side of the aisle, would say that we don't need comprehensive immigration reform, which the president has been for since day one. The money that he's asking for will go to adding more detention centers. It will go to hiring more lawyers, immigration judges, which are things that may keep these kids here for longer. But the president has also said that he's willing to reevaluate this 2008 law. So if he's willing to come to the table and have a conversation about it, why can't we get anywhere?
I think the bigger issue, though, is why aren't we doing something now? I think that's really what Americans want. They don't want to hear 6 months down the road or a year down the road. That seems to be their frustration.
You can't just turn away children who have just taken this perilous journey across Mexico and just put up a wall and say, just go back. You're sending them back to an environment that they may not survive. You can't just turn away children who have just taken this perilous journey across Mexico. I'm not saying to keep them from the 3 to 5 years, but as the president said in his meeting with the Hispanic caucus on Wednesday, you know, there is a way to legally protect these children and also to speed up the process. And we can do things faster and also responsibly. And I think that that's the best way forward.
Matt, can't we find some middle ground here somewhere?
I think we could find a lot of middle ground, but one of the things that the president, Nancy Pelosi, and a lot of the leadership in the Democratic Party have to do is start
Best way forward.
Matt, can't we find some middle ground here somewhere?
I think we could find a lot of middle ground, but one of the to do is make a strong statement that says our borders are not open. We are going to stop this crisis now. Please do not send your children here, as opposed to encouraging it through his surrogates and through the lack of action. And
well, he has attempted to do.
We are going to stop this crisis now. Please do not send your children here, as opposed to
them all here. I mean, they're coming of their own volition. They're being fed lies that don't necessarily come from Washington.
Do that by sending messages to some of the South American countries.
He certainly isn't saying send. That is not what Barack Obama is telling these people.
Why did the Obama administration put out a RFP for $60 million for a surge at the border for this year if they didn't expect this to happen? What have they done to avoid this crisis from happening? And what have they done to put out a RFP for $60 million for a surge at the border for this year if they didn't?
Okay, let me ask you both this. I've only got a short time left, but there was the comment made by Harry Reid where he went in front of the microphones. I've only got about 40 seconds left here, and he said, the borders are secure. Honestly, Jessica, wasn't that the wrong?
That was a mistake.
Thank you.
It was a total mistake. And in 2012, President Obama said the border was secure in a speech in El Paso. In 2011, I believe he even said that it's the most secure it's ever been. That's not correct.
But it is something that the Democrats are going to have to deal with right now, because that's going to live right through the midterms.
They have to deal with it for sure, but you also have to address the fact that there's a fissure in the party right now. Not everyone is on the same page about it. You have Democrats who are saying clearly the border is not secure, and then you have the leadership saying that it is. And everyone within their own parties needs to get on the same page, and then they need to come together and get on one page as one Congress.
And there we go.
Nothing will change if they don't. The leadership saying that it is. And everyone within their own parties needs to get on the same page.
Tarlov, Matt Keelen, hey, thank you very much to the two of you joining us. Let's do it again. I wish you a wonderful weekend here, and hope the next time we get together, we can all come together and find that middle ground somewhere.
Thanks, Ed.
Tarlov, Matt Keelen, hey, thank you very much to the two of you joining us. Let's do it again. I wish you a wonderful weekend here, and I don't believe I just used that phrase, but it does seem as if that somebody's got to find some midpoint somewhere. That's because you found it right here. On the Newsmax TV network, we're back where we question everything.